So Legal Eagle is suing the government for communication of information the government deemed to be classified and removed from John Bolton's book prior to publication. My prediction, this is going nowhere fast for a number of reasons. Viva Frei, Montreal litigator turned YouTuber, and if I look a little haggard, it's only because we just spent 3 nights camping with the entire family, 3 kids, my wife, a dog, and the first night we all slept in one tent because we had an inflatable mattress, I forgot the foot pump, and we had to blow up a queen-size inflatable mattress with our lungs. Incidentally, if you want to see some fun videos from that camping trip and other random, fun, lighthearted videos, check out my second channel, Viva Random. I'm going to link it right here. It's basically what Viva Frei used to be before I turned Viva Frei into a law-related vlog channel. Viva Random. Check it out. Subscribe. Back to the video. But I digress. Back to the subject matter at hand, which is Legal Eagle filed suit against the government to compel communication of information the government deemed to be classified and had removed from John Bolton's most recent book called The Room Where It Happened. Now, I've got to admit that I was sort of taken aback at the very paradox of the request on its face. Legal Eagle is seeking the production of documentation the government withheld on the basis that the government deemed it to be classified. We're going to get into it in greater detail in this vlog, but basically Legal Eagle is saying, I don't trust the government when they said they classified certain information, so I want communication of that information so I can see whether or not it was properly classified, and he filed a FOIA request to that effect. First things first. Now, for anybody who's been on this channel for long enough, you know that I have something of a history with Legal Eagle. I wouldn't qualify it as a negative history. I wouldn't qualify it as anything personal. I think Legal Eagle is biased. Pure and simple, I think he is biased, and I think his bias affects his judgment. And funny enough, this vlog has sort of been in the making since a tweet Legal Eagle made on February 11th, 2020. After Donald Trump was acquitted, Legal Eagle tweeted, "Impeach him again." To which I responded, it's a slippery slope from attorney to activist. I love it when tweets age well. I mean, I posted a direct response to Legal Eagle's tweet in which I said the following: Legal, you were wrong the first time, no point doubling down on the mistake. Impeachment may be a political tool, but even political tools need to be used without reckless abandon. I am also proud of that tweet, but my slippery slope tweet has aged particularly well, especially in light of what Legal Eagle is doing now. By his own admission, Legal Eagle seems to think that John Bolton had information that would have been material to Donald Trump's impeachment.
And I didn't trust the government to do that pre-publication review and censoring of John Bolton's book in good faith. Under normal circumstances, but doubly so when we're talking about things that strike at the heart of our democracy and the president's impeachment trial. And if the Senate isn't going to give the president a fair trial when it comes to impeachment, then the only check on executive power is at the ballot box.
Legal Eagle filed the FOIA request and the subsequent lawsuit in an attempt to obtain communication of the documents that he thought would have helped in the impeachment process the first time, ostensibly for the purposes of impeaching Donald Trump again. That's not to say there's anything wrong or underhanded in what Legal Eagle's doing, it's just important to know. Now, Legal Eagle has put out 2 YouTube videos on the subject, which I actually think might come back to bite him in the butt, but we'll get back to that in a bit. In his videos, he stresses that this is not a joke, this is not a stunt, it is actually happening.
This is not a joke. This is actually happening. This is not a stunt. This is not a joke. We are actually filing a federal lawsuit to enforce our FOIA requests, as we are entitled to do.
The fact that something is actually happening doesn't mean it's not a joke and not a stunt, and some people might think that Legal Eagle is protesting a little bit too much, and after having read the lawsuit might actually think it is a joke or a stunt, but let's get into the lawsuit itself. Plaintiff Legal Eagle LLC brings this action against defendants National Security Council Records Access and Information Security Management Directorate, Central Intelligence Agency, Department of Defense, Department of Justice, Department of State, National Archives and Records Administration, and Office of the Director of National Intelligence pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act, the Federal Declaratory Judgment Act, and the All Writs Act. Now, the All Writs Act might look familiar. We saw it in the Sullivan matter, and basically it is petitioning the government to issue a writ to order them to do what Legal Eagle thinks they're legally required to do, which is communicate to him the information they deem to be classified and removed from John Bolton's book. Plaintiff Legal Eagle LLC, Legal Eagle, is a business headquartered in the District of Columbia. Legal Eagle runs the Legal Eagle YouTube channel, which is the most popular YouTube channel focused on legal issues, as well as one of the fastest growing educational channels in the world with more than 1 million subscribers, 10 million monthly views, and 100 million total views. Legal Eagle then goes on to outline the NDAs, the non-disclosure agreements that anyone who has access to classified information would have to sign prior to having access to that classified information, and that includes John Bolton. Any person who possesses a security clearance to access classified national security information must sign a non-disclosure agreement agreeing, inter alia, to submit any documents related to his, her national security employment for pre-publication review before disclosing them to any third party not authorized by the United States government to access them. Legal Eagle then goes on to explain that these federal agencies can deny not only publication of classified information, but of unclassified information as well. One characteristic shared by several agencies is the idea that the agency can deny an author permission to publish both classified and unclassified information in different circumstances. For instance, several agencies reserve the right to deny a current employee or contractor permission to publish unclassified information which could interfere with the agency's functions, while stating that works of former employees may only be reviewed for classified information. Other agencies do not draw a clear line between the two and suggest that they can deny an author permission to publish certain types of unclassified information, such as controlled unclassified information, Department of Defense, and information which would adversely affect the foreign relations or security of the United States, Office of the Director of National Intelligence, even if the author is a former employee. Then Legal Eagle sets out the timeline of John Bolton's book or his manuscript. Former National Security Advisor John Bolton signed both an SF-312 and a Form 4414 as a condition of his employment with the White House. On 30 December 2019, Bolton submitted a copy of the manuscript for his book, The Room Where It Happened, to RAISMD for pre-publication review. On 23 January 2020, RAISMD informed Bolton that, quote, the manuscript appears to contain significant amounts of classified information. The government believes that all or part of Bolton's original manuscript was distributed to multiple individuals as early as 26 January 2020. On 7 February 2020, RAISMD informed Bolton that the manuscript contained, quote, numerous instances of classified information. Between 7 February and 27 April, Bolton and RAISMD engaged in an iterative process of review, editing, and resubmission. On 27 April 2020, RAISMD's senior director, Ellen Knight, completed her pre-publication review of Bolton's manuscript and informed the NSC Office of the Legal Advisor, with which she corresponded, quote, at various points throughout the pre-publication process, end quote, that she, quote, was of the judgment that the manuscript draft did not contain classified information, end quote. On 2 May 2020, NSC Senior Director for Intelligence Michael Ellis, quote, commenced an additional review of the manuscript, end quote. On 9 June 2020, Ellis completed his additional review and concluded that Bolton's manuscript, quote, still contains classified information, end quote. The bottom line, just to cut to the chase, Bolton, after being advised that his book still contains classified information, advises the government that the book has been printed, bound, and shipped to distributors across the country. The government files suit against Bolton in an attempt to get a temporary restraining order to enjoin the publication of the book, and on June 20th, they get a judgment. On 20 June 2020, Judge Royce C. Lamberth denied the government's motion for a temporary restraining order, but opined that, quote, the court is persuaded that defendant Bolton likely jeopardized national security by disclosing classified information in violation of his non-disclosure agreement obligations, end quote, even though, quote, Bolton disputes that his book contains any such classified information, end quote. The bottom line, the judge denies issuing a temporary restraining order ostensibly on the basis that the book was already out there, leaked to everyone, and Bolton was already doing interviews on it, so the damage was already done. There was no need for a temporary restraining order because it would accomplish nothing. But the judge acknowledges that even after the multiple iterations and multiple reviews, the book nonetheless still contains classified information despite what Bolton asserts. The court is persuaded that defendant Bolton likely jeopardized national security by disclosing classified information in violation of his non-disclosure agreement obligations. And with the backdrop of Legal Eagle's impeach him again tweet and the fact that Legal Eagle thinks that among the classified information removed from John Bolton's book might have been information relevant to the impeachment of Donald Trump, in February 2020, Legal Eagle makes FOIA requests to obtain that documentation. And sorry about the noise from the rain, these are the risks and perils of having a car office. Recognizing the legal implications of the then burgeoning dispute between Bolton and the White House over the publication of this book, Legal Eagle submitted a series of FOIA requests in February 2020 with the intention of obtaining, or at the least forcing the government to properly process under FOIA, information that the government was attempting to prevent Bolton from publishing through the publication review process, as well as information about the pre-publication review process being applied to Bolton's manuscript. And this is the crux of Legal Eagle's lawsuit and why I believe it is doomed to failure.
Legal Eagle reasonably anticipated that there was a significant likelihood that RAISMD would seek to prohibit the publication of unclassified information or improperly retroactively classify information to prevent its disclosure.
And what facts or evidence are included in this lawsuit to support this absolutely critical allegation?
Absolutely none.
It is Legal Eagle's bold assertion alone.
It's entirely possible that this whole process is rife with political machinations designed to hide the White House from unflattering information that should see the light of day.
Then we get into allegations that Legal Eagle was stonewalled in that nobody responded to his requests. Many of Legal Eagle's requests were submitted to agencies with which RAI-SMD would have necessarily consulted, such as CIA, DOD, DOJ, State, and ODNI. On 26 May 2020, Legal Eagle submitted new requests to several agencies to obtain information created or obtained since its previous requests were processed. Legal Eagle has received no records as of this writing. Then we get into the multiple causes of action, and it's somewhat repetitive because they're all pretty much the same mutatis mutandis depending on the agency. First cause of action, RAI-SMD records denial. Legal Eagle repeats and realleges the allegations contained in all paragraphs set forth above. Legal Eagle also stated, quote, "In anticipation of your potential argument that your office is not subject to FOIA, we are familiar with the relevant case law on the matter, and we do not dispute that the National Security Council as a whole is not an agency for the purposes of FOIA because it lacks independent decision-making authority. However, the Access Management Directorate does possess independent decision-making authority and does not exist solely to advise the President, and as such, your office is an agency for the purposes of FOIA, more like the Office of Management and Budget and the Council of Environmental Quality than like the rest of the National Security Council." Now, give Legal Eagle credit, he is getting the bad arguments out there in advance to respond to them before they can be raised by the opposing party. At the very least, now we know that there is a legal argument as to whether or not the RAI-SMD or the RAISMD is in fact an office that is subject to FOIA in the first place. And how does RAISMD respond? On March 9, 2020, RAISMD acknowledged receipt of this request and refused to process it, stating, quote, "As an organization in the Executive Office of the President that advises and assists the President, the National Security Council is not subject to the FOIA. Legal Eagle has a legal right under FOIA to obtain the information it seeks, and there is no legal basis for the denial by RAISMD of said right." And that is a question that's going to be up for a judge to decide. Second cause of action, RAISMD expedited process denial. Legal Eagle demonstrated that there was an urgent need of a requester primarily engaged in disseminating information itself to inform the public about an actual or alleged federal government activity, the pre-publication review of Bolton's manuscript. By refusing to process Legal Eagle's request, RAISMD necessarily denied its request for expedited processing. We will see what a judge thinks of the urgency of the situation, but my prediction is that there is absolutely nothing alleged in this motion to justify any urgency. And then Legal Eagle goes on with more of the same. And what is constructive records denial? It is fancy talk for no response. Legal Eagle has a legal right under FOIA to obtain the information it seeks, and there is no legal basis for the denial by state of said right. Prayer for relief. Wherefore, Plaintiff Legal Eagle LLC prays that this court order the National Security Council Records Access and Information Security Management Directorate, what I have been calling the RAI-SMD or RAISMD interchangeably throughout this vlog, Central Intelligence Agency, Department of Defense, Department of Justice, Department of State, National Archives and Records Administration, and Office of the Director of National Intelligence to release all requested records to it. Order defendants to expeditiously process the requests for which Legal Eagle requested expedited processing. Order preliminary and permanent injunctive and or declaratory relief as may be appropriate. Award reasonable costs and attorney's fees as provided in 5 U.S.C. sections 552A4E, 28 U.S.C. sections 2412D, or any other applicable law. Expedite this action in every way pursuant to 28 U.S.C. section 1657A, and grant such other relief as this court may deem just and proper. Now, I am making a bold prediction. This lawsuit is going to fail, and it's going to fail hard. It's going to fail because it is simply not based on any facts or evidence. It is based on the unsubstantiated concern of Legal Eagle that he just doesn't trust the Trump administration.
It's entirely possible that this whole process is rife with political machinations designed to hide the White House from unflattering information that should see the light of day.
But it's also possible that the pre-publication review process was a complete sham done by political appointees for political reasons to punish Bolton as opposed to protecting the disclosure of actually classified information. So if President Trump's administration is playing games with classification, and there has been plenty of indication of this in the past, then I think we ought to know about it.
Not only is the entire lawsuit based on Legal Eagle's unsubstantiated concerns, Legal Eagle's unsubstantiated concerns are contradicted by the evidence in the file itself. Legal Eagle doesn't trust the government. Good. At the very least, we have that in common. Nobody should trust the government. But it wasn't just the government that confirmed that Bolton's book had classified information in it. The judge confirmed that Bolton's book had classified information in it based on an in-camera review of that evidence.
And here, the judge in this particular case, Judge Lamberth, decided that the government was likely to win on the NDA issue. The judge thought that it was likely, though certainly not certain, that John Bolton had published classified information. And that was after an in-camera review, meaning that the court behind closed doors actually looked at the evidence that was presented to the judge in this particular case. And the judge thinks that Bolton probably published classified information.
More damning than that, apparently Bolton was himself the one who classified some information that he sought to publish in his book.
However, this presents a problem for Bolton because the government alleges that Bolton is the one who decided to classify some of the material that he now discloses in his book.
It's all fine and well to say I don't trust the government, but I think you're going to need a more compelling argument than saying I don't trust the government, so government, I want you to communicate to me the information you removed from John Bolton's book on the basis that it was classified so that I can verify whether or not I think it was in fact classified. I have a sneaking suspicion the threshold is going to be a little bit higher for a court of law to grant communication of otherwise classified information that the government deemed to be classified. But what do I know? I am a know-nothing Canadian lawyer talking to you from my car from the streets of Montreal. That being said, I have been pretty good with my predictions as of the present date. And my prediction is that this lawsuit is going nowhere and nowhere fast. If it doesn't get dismissed outright, it's going to get dismissed after a judge reviews the evidence again in camera and again confirms that there was, in fact, classified information in John Bolton's book that will not be communicated to Legal Eagle subsequent to his request. There it is on the internet. I can never take it back. I'm going to live with it. And with that said, if you like my videos, you like my content, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, drop a comment in the comment section below because it feeds the algorithm. If you want to support the channel, all of the support links are in the pinned comment. We've got merch, PayPal, Subscribe Star, YouTube memberships where everybody gets sneak peeks at all of my videos to the extent that I can give you guys sneak peeks. But above all else, take care of yourselves, stay safe, stay healthy, check in on friends and family and neighbors, make sure everyone around you is doing well, and now you know your vlog. Peace out. Booyah!